Right, now Cynthia is going to tell us what she thinks of what she's heard so far on the show. But just before she does that, I want to welcome you to the Dolor Factor again, this time out of the studio and here at the Rodney Bay Marina.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking your time out to be part of this, because I felt it was very important that you were part of it. So maybe you could tell viewers, who you are, what you do, and what we're going to be doing.
Okay, as Delia said, my name is Cynthia Alexander. I am a life coach, an executive coach and a facilitator. And I think Delia probably called me today knowing my background on life coaching, but also stress, because it's quite obvious that they are experiencing emotional stress. And today I have just been observing, because this is the first time I've really heard a full account of the story. And I've been observing their state. And I would just like to ask them a little bit more about how they're feeling emotionally.
Speak to
Okay,
Bernice.
so Bernice, you talked a bit about, you're not actually feeling yourself. You're feeling a bit shaky.
Shaky.
Yes.
I still cannot believe that happened.
Right.
So when I'm sleeping, I dream of having nightmares of what happened to me. They have to wake me up and tell me I'm home. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm home, it's not a really good feeling for me.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I feel good and another minute I feel really
Mm-hmm. I think, and thank you for that. Delia, can you just express, because there are a number of emotions that people go through, and some people probably don't want to express it because they may feel it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to get some idea of some of the emotions that are racing through you.
I'm trying to think of the one word that sums it up, but there isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
Anger.
Mm-hmm.
I am very much someone who keeps things together, and once it was happening, I felt we were all keeping it together and everything seemed okay.
Mm-hmm.
We made a lot of major decisions. Michael's decision that he had to go up that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Bernice was very friendly with the staff, the Dominican staff, and she was like looking after their emotional needs because they had lots of other issues. And I, believe it or not, was very much, I wouldn't say leader of the guests, but I came up with a lot of the suggestions as to what we should do to help ourselves and each other, because there was a lot of conflict going on. So I am angry because I felt that we were very much on our own. We were St. Lucians on our own. But I knew that once we got the news out to my husband, that he would get others to help me. And I think I'm angry because returning to St. Lucia, I'm hearing so many different things where certain people were aware that we were there and they were looking at protocol.
Right.
And I will not respond to what was said or who said it, because that's not the important thing. I'm angry about that. I feel guilty because when I read certain things, like I read a press release that said all the guests of Jungle Bay had been rescued, and we were just one sentence, and I thought, that's all they've said about us? And we went through so much, not just us, but there were children involved. There were Dominican staff involved who were looking after us, knowing that they had lost their family, dead. Some of them, they were still looking for them, right? They were still looking for their family. And all that we were given in press releases was just like a sentence here and there, and everything was about Dominica and St. Lucia helping Dominica and another country helping Dominica. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I didn't see anything that said, this is what we are also doing for our people. So I'm angry.
Okay.
Anything else? And then I also felt that when I read that everyone at Jungle Bay lost their jobs, even though we left everything, because we left all our clothes, because we were rescued by helicopter, so we had to leave some things. And they even said to us, well, look, do you want to put some things aside and we'll try to get it to you another time? And we said, no, we're going to give everybody everything that we have because they've got nothing. So we came back with nothing. Nothing, apart from losing all our equipment. We came back with nothing but the clothes on our back and one or two things that we saved for work purposes, like your makeup, that we could. And she left everything, and then it hurt me. I feel guilty because I had some money. I didn't have a lot of money on me because I had credit cards, and I felt that I should have left some of the money for the people.
Right.
I feel bad about that.
Okay, so you realise that, I mean, this was a really shocking account, what I'm hearing. And I think what you need to be aware of, I mean, I listened to you, Bernice, and we spoke a little bit about it before we started the show, and you talked about you're trying to just keep it all together.
Yeah.
Well, I need to say that it is really important for you to go through those emotions. I need to also say that I am not a psychologist, and there are different stages of trauma, and right now you have experienced trauma, and it's natural to feel guilt, to feel fear, because, you know, as you described it, I could imagine the fear that was going through, you know. You're in a situation where you don't know what's going to happen. So there's a lot of fear, guilt, anger, yes? And so you need to allow yourself to go through that. What you need to know is it is natural, and you need to speak about it. When you first talked to me about this, I was thinking, well, I don't think I have any real experience about this, but I remembered that, you know, Hurricane Thomas, and I remembered actually my family was involved in that, and I started to reflect back, and I know family and friends that were involved in that kept it all together, and some of them were in such shock that it didn't actually come out until months later, and people were looking and thinking, well, why are they speaking about it now? I think what I would like to share with people now is it is important for you to talk about it. Yes, you don't have to talk about the trauma, but you have to talk about how you're feeling right now. That is very important. You need to look for symptoms. Yes, you need to be aware of the symptoms. Some people start withdrawing, some people start drinking. There are various symptoms people go through, and you need to just check yourself, because as I said, it is normal for you to feel these these feelings. You're actually going to probably get flashbacks, but if it goes on for more than a month, you need to know that you need to get help from a social worker, psychologist, or counselor, because you are survivors and you survived the trauma. But I know of people who have survived the trauma, but they've actually died as a result of post-traumatic stress disorder. It has affected them so much that they've actually, and this is why I'm so interested in stress management and talking. One of the other things I want to say is that when you listen to people who have been through a traumatic situation, you also need to know your boundaries and how far you can go. If you find somebody going through that trauma and you know you're not trained, you need to actually step back and recommend that they go and see somebody who can actually help them, because there are a number of trained people in St. Lucia that can help you. And whilst people may think, I know there's a bit of a stigma around counselling, but let me tell you, around the world in studies, they are actually saying that every one of us, 70% of us are going to experience some form of trauma in our lifetime. And we have got to be aware of the symptoms and when they go on for an excessive amount of time. And we also have to look out for people that maybe have not shown that they have been affected, but maybe months later they do. The other thing is that some people are very resilient, and so they may not have any traumatic experience, yes? And so that also can be to do with their background as well. So we need to be aware of people that have been through those situations, that have probably had some form of trauma earlier on in their life, because it can actually trigger it off.
Well, Cynthia, I wish that we had more time, and I have this horrible feeling, I say horrible, I don't mean it in a bad way, that we're going to have to make the time to talk about not just this particular experience, but trauma in itself. And I know that you have some workshops or seminars or something.
We
to
have
do with
some
that.
master classes.
So can I just say, we will put the information up on the screen for
Right.
anyone to contact you, and also to our viewers, if you go to the Dolor Factor Facebook page, you will see what people have started saying about our account. Some of the responses are going to shock you, so be prepared for that. Bernice, any last words, anything that you would like to say, people you like to thank?
Well, I want to thank you too.
I didn't do anything. I feel helpless.
You were strong. We were pretending like we were strong, but when we get here, we see that we were like, we started crying, because we were so happy that we get to our home. And then I want to thank Olivier, because he's our lifesaver. And thank you.
I'd like to thank God, actually. And the last thing is, anybody that has been through any trauma needs to actually get closer to God,
Yes.
because that makes the difference, okay? So you really need to start developing a relationship with God. And yes, we thank God that
Yes,
you
we
are
thank
all
God.
back
Yeah.
and safe.
Well, you say that, but some people will say, if there was a God, why did he let this
Oh
happen?
no, He puts us through tests.
Yes, it's true.
And you know, He tests our faith. And we're here, and we're happy that you are here back with us, all of you. Thank God.
And thank
Anyone
God.
else? Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah, I was happy to see my children, my friends send me messages. Thank you. And then my other half, I want to thank everybody.
Okay. Well, for me, of course, I like to thank Bernice and Michael, because we went through
Yeah,
all this
Michael,
together, and there was not
sorry.
one word, even if they might have thought it, because I know I thought it, why the hell am I here? But they never said, Delia, why did you bring us here? We made the best of the situation when we had the great weather, and we made the best of the situation defending each other. We just defended each other. There were times when we had to stand up for each other.
Yes, it's
yes,
true.
yeah,
Because
you
we were
wanna-
the only St. Lucian, and everybody else was like on the French side and other countries. And then like the three of us was just in our own world. So you know, every time something happened, we'll be there to defend us, you know.
yeah.
And I think I was the most aggressive one when it comes to, you know, especially Delia. She wasn't feeling well, so you know, I had her back.
Yeah, no, we did. So thank you for
Yes,
that,
you're
Bernice,
welcome.
for being there. And there are a number of people who I know, now that I've been back on island, was fighting the cause to get us back. And you know who you are. My doors of communications are open to anyone, whether you want to hear another point of view. If you tried to get in touch with me and you didn't, if you'd like to do that, that's fine. If you are a victim of trauma, and you'd like some help and assistance, please get in touch with me so I can talk to people who can help you. But above all, whenever you see something posted on the internet, think carefully before you make a comment, because you don't know all the sides of the story. And sometimes don't make a comment on a Facebook page or somewhere that's public when you have that person's phone number that you can pick up the phone and call them and speak to them personally. There's nothing to prove by putting something on Facebook, but a lot can be destroyed when you write something that you don't know the full story about. So until next time, what can I say but how I normally say, goodbye and God bless.